When one visits our school, you will often see working-class mothers doing analytical chemistry, using logarithmic calculators, within 1 year of enrollment with no previous experience or exposure to science. Today, we have more than 40 research technicians working for the Bayer facilities in Pittsburgh. And once we demonstrated to Bayer that we could exceed its expectations and really train people, capable people, who require no explanation or apology, other chemical companies followed suit. And we now have trained technicians for PPG, Calgon Carbon, BASF, Aristech, Nova Chemical, and Alcoa, just to cite a few. These technicians are finding opportunities with medical labs at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center and the West Penn Allegheny Health System. Once an environment of performance is established and a culture based on achievement and value and education, performance flourishes. Our school and its faculty have now become accustomed to high-powered, market-oriented programs that are now geared toward life-altering employment strategies. It is my absolute belief that the substantial majority of our children would perform at a much higher level of interest and sophistication if schools adopted a career focus in partnership with local industry, because I do not believe that there is any value added to having a young person enroll in higher education but have no skills to perform in life. I believe that there is dignity in vocation. At Bidwell, we have eliminated the stigma often associated with vocational education. We have made it desirable to be able to earn a good living. Given the thousands of jobs in demand in Pittsburgh, we are now developing a strategy to align our efforts with the public school system to assure that a much higher percentage of those jobs are filled with minority kids of African and Hispanic descent. I believe that it is well within our community's ability to offer creative, life-enhancing educational environments from which many thousands of students can effectively be employed and become contributing members of the communities, whether it's Pittsburgh, Detroit, or Cleveland. And it is exactly that program that we are creating at our affiliate, Newbridge, the Cleveland Center for Arts and Technology on Euclid Avenue. It symbolizes a bright and hopeful sign of collaboration between the employer community, philanthropy, and the Cleveland public school system in both the arts and, we hope someday, career education. It, like Pittsburgh, is a very hopeful sign. I was there the other day to see the facility and its development, and as sure as I'm standing there, the sun shone down on that building, as it will for all the children who will ultimately participate. In Pittsburgh, the other half of my life, as I have mentioned, involves the use of the arts as a strategy for educating inner-city kids. The program, entitled Manchester Craftsman's Guild, in partnership with the Pittsburgh Public School System, operates on the belief that every child has the potential for achievement. The program is co-located with Bidwell Training Center and world-class facilities that offer state-of-the-art materials and equipment, a faculty that cares about the students, and an environment that assumes that everyone can learn. We now count among our graduates 2 PhDs, an orthopedic surgeon, and a kid at the Harvard Business School, to name a few. And we have been achieving these significant outcomes with this population for 25 years. Many of those kids were designated as potential failures and unable to learn. People respond to their environment. In other words, if you build a school with metal bars and metal detectors and cameras and steel doors, people will act like prisoners. If you build schools that stress learning and excellence and look that way, you will achieve results very similar to what we have experienced in Pittsburgh. There are no advanced degrees required for achieving this impact on children I have just described. But it does require passion, a zeal, an insistence on doing things right as opposed to doing them wrong. At Manchester Craftsman's Guild, we also have a jazz presenting program which creates a culture that brings the world's great jazz artists to a concert hall in the middle of the inner city. Artists like Dizzy Gillespie, Herbie Hancock, Nancy Wilson have come to speak to audiences in the middle of a neighborhood that everyone gave up on for dead. Each artist has come to be very supportive of our work, and in many instances allowed our center to record them as a contribution to our educational archives. The jazz program was conceived of as both a recapturing of an important Pittsburgh cultural tradition, but also as a means of presenting world-class artists in an environment that their music demanded. I came to the conclusion that the music of Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald was part of the cure for the spiritual cancer of these children. And that is exactly why we put the music in our school. I asked Mr. Gillespie why would he take the time to come to a minority-run arts education center that at the time had no reputation for music of any kind. Dizzy replied that he had heard about the center from a fellow named Billy Taylor, a world-class jazz educator and performer who was and is a good friend. Dizzy remarked that the reason he came, he did not believe a center of this description was run by a black person, and he wanted to see for himself if it were true. He then said, "I am so taken with what you have accomplished here, I want to leave a gift for you. The gift is my permission to record this concert, and I will give you the rights to the music as my contribution to your effort. Someday the music may have some value, and I wanted it to be known for all time that I was here." We recorded Dizzy. He died several years later, but not before we told Joe Williams, Monty Alexander, Stanley Turrentine, Tito Puente, Carmen McRae, Betty Carter, and Shirley Horn about our work, just to name a few. In the vast majority of the cases, we not only recorded the artists, but we recorded them in sold-out venues in the middle of the inner city. These artists came to love the mission of the school, as I suspected they would. In several special instances, they actually met the children on their own terms. I've seen this as sure as I'm standing here, and it was magic. Our strategy is to do the following: build centers in Minneapolis, Tampa, Reno, Atlanta, Austin, Oahu, Hawaii, and Halifax, Nova Scotia is our first international center. In each city, the center, like Pittsburgh and Cleveland, are forming partnerships between public education, philanthropy, local citizens, and our subsidiary, the National Center for Arts and Technology. The good news is that there are some superintendents and school boards that really get it and are trying to do the right thing against formidable odds, but it has been shown in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Grand Rapids, and San Francisco, which now have fully functioning successful centers, that it is possible to change the conversation. I believe we can rebuild our communities with an entrepreneurial strategy that stresses innovation, enterprise, excellence, quality, and a refusal to leave anyone behind. The arts and market-based vocational education presented in exemplary physical surroundings, I believe, is the key to this strategy, and the willingness of elected officials to harness public money in support of these types of community strategies, I think, is the answer. The question I will leave you with is this: what might be possible if we incorporated this idea in, say, 200 American and international cities, which is my goal, by the way, to build centers in 200 cities, yesterday? I believe the impact could be profound and offer some real hope of a time that it is desperately needed. My hope is in coming here today is to perhaps advance the cause a little bit further. The City Club and all the good faces in the audience today closely resemble what I have in mind for every school in America. Not just universities, but public schools, charter schools, and proprietary schools involving elementary, middle, and secondary levels. The secret sauce is the energy and the intelligence displayed in this room today. I want schools to feel like this, not just the City Club. It is called hope and optimism and human possibility. I believe if we can maintain this approach, it will reestablish this country as the educational leader that it once was around the world. And it is my hope that in coming here today, some of you may elect to join me in this journey. Congratulations and all the best of you in your lives ahead. Thank you very much.